How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, March 6th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Saturday, March 5th, 2022. Before I get into what's going on today as well, to take a quick step back and look at where we are in the calendar year. Entering this third month of the year, now that football is over, we are towards the end of the basketball seasons. College basketball regular seasons are over as teams are starting to transition into their conference schedules. In the NBA, now that the All-Star game is over, the teams are making their last pushes towards clinching playoff spots. Not to mention that in the world of soccer, now that we are in the 2022 year, we are in the second half of the soccer season as teams are starting to seed themselves out within their own schedules to try to chase their own domestic titles. With that said, starting with college basketball from yesterday, starting with the second-ranked team in the nation, the Arizona Wildcats would end their season by beating the unranked California Golden Bears. Arizona would win this matchup 89-61 as they would go on to finish their Pac-12 record they were going to finish their Pac-12 season with an 18-2 record. They would win this game 89-61. They won this game by 28 after they outscored the Bears by 19 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the second-ranked Arizona Wildcats were led in scoring by their center off the bench, Oumar Ballo. He finished with 16 points and 5 rebounds. With this win, I guess Ballo would shoot a perfect 7 for 7 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the night. With this win, the second-ranked Arizona Wildcats are 28-3. They are now 18-2 in the Pac-12 as they finish with the best record in the 2021-22 season. They were the only team in the Pac-12 that finished with less than 5 losses, and they only had 2, just to get a sense of how well they played. 3 games better than second-place UCLA. And with this loss, the unranked California Golden Bears would finish their season with a 12-9 record. They finished with a 5-15 record in the Pac-12. That was the third best record to finish the season with. They finished with a better record than Utah and with a better record than only Utah and Oregon State for the season. Looking at the third-ranked team in the nation, the defending champs Baylor Bears hosted unranked Iowa State. The Baylor Bears would beat the Cyclones 75-68. They won by 7 after outscoring Iowa State by 10 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the third-ranked Bears were led in scoring by their starting guard, James Akinjo. He finished with 20 points, 6 assists, and 2 steals. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 3 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the third-ranked Baylor Bears finished their season with a 26-5 record. They finished their season with a 14-4 record in the Big 12. They ended up tying Kansas for the regular season title as they were the only 2 teams that finished with less than 6 losses in the entire conference so far. With this loss, the unranked Iowa State Cyclones finished their season with a 20-11 record, all of their 11 losses coming in the Big 12. Their 7-11 record is tied with Oklahoma for the third worst record to finish the Big 12 this season. Taking a look at the fourth-ranked team in the nation, my alma mater, Duke, would host the unranked North Carolina Tar Heels in what would be Coach Krzyzewski's last home game, at least coaching within Cameron Indoor Stadium, in his 42nd season. North Carolina would spoil his last regular season game, beating Duke 94-81. They would win this matchup by 13 after outscoring Duke by 15 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Duke Blue Devils were led in scoring by their starting forward, Paolo Banchero. Their freshman would finish with 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He shot 11 for 26 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 1 for 5 from 3 in his final regular season game, because I imagine he's going to the draft. On the winning end of this matchup, the unranked North Carolina Tar Heels were led in scoring by their starting forward, Armando Bacot. He finished with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Bacot shot 10 for 11 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Caleb Love, finished with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He would go on to shoot 4 for 17 from the field and a perfect 12 for 12 from the foul line. Their starting guard, RJ Davis, finished with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line as he played all 40 minutes. Their starting forward, Brady Manek, played all 40 minutes as well. Their transfer from Oklahoma would finish with 20 points and 11 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and he made one of his 2 free throws on the night. With this win, the unranked North Carolina Tar Heels finished their 2021-22 season with a 23-8 record. They finished with a 15-5 record in the ACC. They tied Notre Dame with the second best record in the ACC behind Duke. With this loss, the 4th-ranked Duke Blue Devils will finish their 2021-22 season, Coach K's finals regular season, with a 26-5 record. They finished with a 16-4 record, the outright best record in the ACC. They were the only team in the conference with less than 5 losses as they finished 1 game ahead of North Carolina and Notre Dame for the season as they clinched the ACC regular season title. Looking at the 5th-ranked team in the nation, the Auburn Tigers would host the unranked South Carolina Gamecocks. Auburn ended up beating South Carolina 82-71 in order to pick up their 15th win in the SEC, and this was the win that they needed in order to win the SEC regular season outright. They would win this game 82-71. They won by 11 after outscoring South Carolina by 17 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 5th-ranked Tigers were led in scoring by their starting forward, their freshman Jabari Smith. He would finish with 21 points and 6 rebounds. He shot 5 for 12 from the field, a perfect 3 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the 5th-ranked Auburn Tigers are 27-4. They will finish their season with a 15-3 record in the SEC, finishing with the best record in the SEC this season. They were the only team that had less than 4 losses this year. They finished 1 game ahead of Kentucky and Tennessee. And of course, with this loss, the unranked South Carolina Gamecocks are now officially 18-12. They are now 9-9 in the SEC. They would finish their 2021-22 season tied with LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Florida for the 5th best record in the entire conference. Now, taking a look at what happened with the 6th-ranked team in the nation, the Kansas Jayhawks would host the 21st-ranked Texas Longhorns in Allen Fieldhouse to end their Big 12 season. Kansas would beat Texas 70-63 in overtime. They outscored Texas 13-6 in that overtime period. On the losing end of this matchup, the 21st-ranked Longhorns were led in scoring by their starting guard, Courtney Ramey. He finished with 18 points and 7 rebounds. He shot 6 for 13 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line in his last regular season game. On the winning end of this matchup, the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks were led in scoring by their starting forward, David McCormick. He finished with 22 points and 10 rebounds. He shot 6 for 13 from the field and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks are now 25-6. They are now 14-4 in the Big 12 as they finished off with the best record in the Big 12 alongside the defending national champs Baylor. And with this loss, the 21st ranked Texas Longhorns will end their 21-22 season with a 21-10 record. They finished with a 10-8 record in the Big 12. That would be the 4th best record in the conference as they finished behind Baylor, Kansas, and Texas Tech for the year. With that said, following that top 25 matchup, taking a look at what happened with the 7th-ranked team in the nation, the 7th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats will go to Gainesville and face off against the unranked Florida Gators. Kentucky beat Florida 71-63. They would win this matchup by 8 after outscoring Florida by 12 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the seventh-ranked Wildcats would be led in scoring by their starting forward, Oscar Tshiebwe. He finished with 27 points, 15 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks in 36 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Tshiebwe's 25th double-double of the season would be the most that an SEC player would have in the last 25 seasons. With this win, the 7th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats finished their season with a 25-6 record and a 14-4 record in the SEC. They would finish with the second-best record in their conference alongside Tennessee, as they both sat 1 game behind the SEC regular season champs Auburn. With this loss, the unranked Florida Gators would finish their season with a 19-12 record. They would finish with a 9-9 record within the SEC itself. They would tie with LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, and South Carolina for the 5th best record in the SEC. Now looking at what happened with the 8th-ranked team in the nation, the Purdue Boilermakers would host the unranked Indiana Boilermakers from within their state. Purdue would end up beating Indiana 69-67. They won by 2 after outscoring Indiana by 4 in the first half. On the winning end, the 8th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Eric Hunter Jr. He finished with 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He shot 7 for 12 from the field and 3 for 6 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the 8th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers would finish their 2021-22 season with a 25-6 record and a 14-6 record in the Big Ten. Their 14-6 record at the moment is the second best. They're the third best record behind Wisconsin and Illinois. And, of course, with this loss, the unranked Indiana Hoosiers will finish their season with an 18-12 record. They would finish with a 9-11 record in the Big Ten. That would be the 6th worst record to finish the Big Ten. At least that's where they're sitting right now. Taking a look at the 11th-ranked team in the nation, the Villanova Wildcats would face off against the unranked Butler Bulldogs. Villanova would end up beating Butler 78-59. They won this matchup by 19 after outscoring Butler by 14 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 11th-ranked Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting forward, Justin Moore. He finished with 16 points and 5 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line in the Wildcats' last regular season game of the year. With this win, they are now 23-7. They would finish their season with a 16-4 record in the Big East. The only team right now that is holding a better record is Providence, as Providence they're sitting right ahead of them in terms of win percentage. And with this loss, the unranked Butler Bulldogs will finish their regular season with a 13-18 record, finishing with a 6-14 record in the Big East, tied with DePaul for the second worst record in the Big East, right ahead of Georgetown. Now looking at what is going on, or looking at what happened to the 12th-ranked team in the nation, the Texas Tech Red Raiders would end up going to Stillwater, Oklahoma to face off against the unranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State would upset the 12th-ranked Red Raiders, winning this matchup 52-51 after it was basically incredibly close the entire game. On the losing end of this matchup, the 12th-ranked Red Raiders were led in scoring by their starting forward, Kevin O'Banner. He finished with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks. He shot 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the unranked Oklahoma State Cowboys were led in scoring by their guard off the bench, Rondell Walker. He finished with 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals. He shot 4 for 7 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt. With this win, the unranked Oklahoma State Cowboys finished their season with a 15-15 record and 8-10 record in the Big 12, as they would tie with TCU for the 5th best record in the conference. With this loss, the 12th-ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders finished their 2021-22 season with a 23-8 record, as they finished with a 12-6 record in the Big 12, sitting behind the Baylor and Kansas tie that ended up winning the conference as a whole. whole. That was the 12th ranked team in the nation. The 13th and 14th ranked teams in the nation faced off against one another last night, as 13th ranked Tennessee hosted the 14th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks. Tennessee beat Arkansas in front of their home fans in their last game. Tennessee would end up beating Arkansas 78-74. They won by 4 after outscoring Arkansas by 21 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 14th ranked Razorbacks were led in scoring by their starting guard, J.D. Notae. He finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals. He shot 6 for 20 from the field and 6 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 13th ranked Volunteers were led in scoring by their starting guards, Santiago Vescovi and Kennedy Chandler. Vescovi finished with 15 points and 2 steals. He shot 4 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Chandler finished with 15 points. He shot 5 for 6 from the field, and all of his makes came from 3. All of his attempts came from 3. He was 5 for 6 from 3, despite not even making a free throw. With this win, the 13th ranked Tennessee Volunteers are now 23-7. They finished their SEC season with a 14-4 record, tied with Kentucky with the second best record in the conference behind Auburn this year. With this loss, the 14th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks finished their season with a 24-7 record, as they finished with a 13-7 record in the SEC. They would finish with the 4th best record in the conference, as they finished behind Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee for the year, as they were the 4th team in the SEC to finish with a double-digit amount of wins within the conference, as the SEC was incredible this year. Looking at the 17th ranked team in the nation, looking at what happened in Los Angeles, it was the crosstown rivalry, as the 17th ranked UCLA Bruins hosted the 16th ranked USC Trojans. UCLA would prevail over USC this time, winning by 7. They won 75-68 after they outscored USC by 6 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 16th ranked Trojans were led in scoring by their starting forward, Isaiah Mobley. He finished with 20 points and 8 rebounds. He shot 7 for 12 from the field and 5 for 8 from the foul line in what could have been his last regular season game for USC. On the winning end of this matchup, the 17th ranked UCLA Bruins were led in scoring by their starting guard, Jaime Jaquez Jr. He finished with 27 points and 6 rebounds. He shot 10 for 16 from the field and 7 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the 17th ranked UCLA Bruins are 23-6. They are 15-5 in the Pac-12. The only team that finished with a better record than them in the Pac-12 this year was Arizona. With this loss, the 16th ranked USC Trojans finished their season with a 25-6 record. They finished their 21-22 season with a 14-6 record in the Pac-12. They finished a game behind UCLA, as only UCLA and Arizona finished with better records than USC did in the Pac-12 this year. Now, taking a look at the 18th ranked team in the nation, the UConn Huskies hosted the unranked DePaul Blue Demons. UConn would end up beating DePaul 75-68. They won by 7 after outscoring DePaul by 11 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 18th ranked Huskies were led in scoring by their starting forward, Adama Sanogo. He finished with 26 points and 11 rebounds as he fouled out in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the UConn Huskies finished there, or as of right now, they are sitting with a 22-8 record, actually. As right now, they are holding a 13-6 record in the Big East. The only 2 teams with a better record than them in the conference so far are Providence and Villanova. With this loss, the unranked DePaul Blue Demons will finish their regular season with a 15-15 record. They finished with a 6-14 record in the Big East, tied with Butler for the second worst record in the conference, as they both sit ahead winless Georgetown at the moment. And I guess last but not least, looking at the 25th ranked team in the nation, the Alabama Crimson Tide would go to Baton Rouge to face off against the unranked LSU Tigers. LSU would beat Alabama in overtime, winning this one 80-77 after outscoring Alabama 8-5 in that overtime period. On the losing end of this matchup, the 25th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide in their last game of the season would be led in scoring by their starting guard, Keon Ellis. He finished with 19 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, and 6 turnovers. He shot 4 for 10 from the field. He would shoot 3 for 8 from 3 and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the unranked LSU Tigers were led in scoring by their starting forward, Darius Days. He finished with 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. Off the bench, their forward, Tari Eason, finished with 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals. He shot 5 for 10 from the field, made his only 3. And with this win, the unranked LSU Tigers finished their 2021 season with a 21-10 record as they finished with a 9-9 record in the SEC. They would finish tied with Texas A&M, Alabama, Florida, and South Carolina for the 5th best record in the SEC. On the losing end of this matchup, the 25th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide finished their season with a 19-12 record. They finished with a 9-9 record in the SEC. They, along with LSU, are tied with Texas A&M, Alabama, they're tied with Texas A&M, Florida, and South Carolina for the 5th best record in the SEC Conference to finish the 2021-22 season. Those are the matchups from yesterday, right before I get into what went down with the 22nd ranked team in the nation. In what was the Ohio Valley Conference Championship final, the 22nd ranked Murray State Racers would host the unranked Morehead State Eagles. They would end up beating Morehead State 71-67. After they had already finished the season with an undefeated record in the Ohio Valley Conference, they would go on to beat Morehead State to more than clinch a spot for them in the tournament and, of course, put another banner in their building. They would win this matchup by 4 after outscoring Morehead State by 4 in the second half. In their final game before the tournament, the 22nd ranked Murray State Racers would be led in scoring by their starting guard, Tevin Brown. He finished with 23 points. He would also finish with 6 rebounds, and he would play the full 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field and 6 for 8 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Justice Hill, finished with 21 points. He shot 8 for 19 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, of course, Murray State is now sitting at 30-2 as they are awaiting their next college basketball matchup, which will more than likely take place in the tournament. As a pretty high-ranking team, I imagine they're either going to be a top 6 seed or a top 5 seed. With this loss, Morehead State will finish their season with a 23-11 record after they finish their season with a 13-5 record in the Ohio Valley Conference. Now taking a look at what is going on today with college basketball, starting from the very top. At 12 o'clock on CBS in the FedEx Forum, Memphis is going to host the 14th ranked Houston Cougars as that this season is coming to a close. Houston enters this matchup with a 15-2 record in the American Conference. At 12:30 on Fox, the 23rd ranked Ohio State Buckeyes are going to host the unranked Michigan Wolverines in Value City Arena. Ohio State enters this matchup with a 12-7 record in the Big Ten. At 2 o'clock on the Big Ten Network, Wisconsin looks to clinch the best record in the Big Ten. They hold the 10th best record as they host the unranked Nebraska Cornhuskers in Kohl Center. Wisconsin enters this matchup with a 15-4 record in the Big Ten. Last but not least today, at 7:30 on FS1, the 20th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini are going to host 24th ranked Iowa. That's going to be on FS1 at 7:30. That's going to be in the State Farm Center in Champaign, Illinois. Illinois enters this matchup with a 14-5 record in the Big Ten. Iowa enters this matchup with a 12-7 record in the conference. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA. Starting off in Dallas, the Mavericks hosted the Sacramento Kings. The Mavericks would end up beating the Kings 114-113. They would win this matchup by 1 after they outscored the Kings by 15 points in the second half, 8 points in the fourth quarter to come from behind and get this win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings would be led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Kentucky, De'Aaron Fox. He finished with 44 points and 6 assists alongside 2 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 18 for 31 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3 as he shot 5 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, finished with 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their starting point guard Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie finished with 36 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 11 for 22 from the field. He would go on to shoot 2 for 7 from 3 and 12 for 13 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Jalen Brunson, finished with 23 points and 6 rebounds. The former national champ would end up shooting 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. The Mavericks shooting guard off the bench, Josh Green, finished with 12 points and 12 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he would shoot 2 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are now 39 and 25. That is the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They've now won their last 4 games. They are now tied with the New Orleans Pelicans for the second longest active winning streak in the Western Conference. The Mavericks have won 8 of their last 10. They are currently sitting a game behind the 4th place Utah Jazz. They are sitting a game and a half ahead of the 6th place Denver Nuggets, and they are trailing the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 12 and a half games at the moment. With this loss, the Sacramento Kings are 24 and 42. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games as they trail the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans by 4.5 games in the Western Conference. Jumping out to Charlotte, the Hornets hosted the San Antonio Spurs. The Hornets would beat the Spurs 123 to 117. They won this matchup by 6 after outscoring the Spurs by 4 in the 4th quarter to extend their lead. On the losing end of this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs were led in scoring by their starting small forward out of Kentucky, Keldon Johnson. He would go on to finish with 33 points and 8 rebounds in 37 minutes. He shot 14 for 24 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their all-star starting point guard, DeJounte Murray, finished with 25 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 9 for 21 from the field and 7 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Charlotte Hornets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Louisville, Terry Rozier. He finished with 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, last year's Rookie of the Year and first-time All-Star LaMelo Ball, will go on to finish with 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are 32 and 33. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. Sitting along with 1 more win and 1 less loss than the Atlanta Hawks, they sit ahead of Atlanta for the moment. They sit half a game behind the 8th place Brooklyn Nets. They sit 2.5 games ahead of the 11th place Washington Wizards, who are on the outside of the picture looking in. Overall, they trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 11 full games in the conference. With this loss, the San Antonio Spurs are 24 and 40. That is the 4th worst record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 4 games. Their 4-game losing streak is tied with the Warriors and the Trailblazers for the second longest active losing streak in the West. The Spurs have lost 6 of their last 10 games. They trailed the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans by 3.5 games outside of the play-in picture. Jumping out to Miami, the Eastern Conference leading Heat hosted the Philadelphia 76ers. The Heat beat the Sixers 99-82 as they were able to create more separation between them and the second-best team in the conference. The Heat won this game by 17 after outscoring the Philadelphia 76ers by 14 in the first half, not to mention 12 in the 4th quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Joel Embiid. He finished with 22 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 4 for 15 from the field and a perfect 14 for 14 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Miami Heat were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler, and their guard off the bench, Tyler Hero. Butler finished with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He would go on to shoot 4 for 15 from the field and a perfect 14 for 14 from the foul line. I'm sorry, Jimmy Butler shot 6 for 15 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 8 for 11 from the foul line. Their guard off the bench, Tyler Hero, would finish with 21 points and 7 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field. He would go on to shoot a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Miami Heat are currently holding the best record in the East, as they are the only team in the East so far that has clinched a winning record thus far at this point. They've won their last 2 games and they've won 8 of their last 10. Not to mention that they're also holding on to the 4th best record in the NBA at the moment. They're sitting 3 games ahead of the second place Philadelphia 76ers in the conference. With this loss, the Philadelphia 76ers are 39-24. They've only lost 3 of their last 10 games. They sit 3 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They sit half a game ahead of the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls, just to get a sense of how close that top 4 is. Taking a look at what happened in Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies hosted the Orlando Magic in order to jump ahead of the Golden State Warriors for the second best record in the NBA. They would beat the Magic 124-96. They would win this matchup by 28 after they outscored the Magic by 21 points in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Magic were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of UNC, Cole Anthony. He would go on to finish with 19 points in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw. Their center off the bench out of Michigan, Moritz Wagner, finished with 17 points and 11 rebounds in 27 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Murray State, their first-time All-Star Ja Morant. He finished with 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in 28 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 4 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard out of TCU, Desmond Bane, finished with 24 points and 6 rebounds. He would do this in 24 minutes as he shot 10 for 15 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt on the day. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 44-21. That is the second best record in the Western Conference. They've now won 7 of their last 10 games. They now trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 8 whole games in the conference, as they are also holding the second best record in the entire NBA. They sit half a game ahead of the third place Golden State Warriors in the conference. With this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 16-49. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference, and that is the second worst conference in the second worst record in the NBA, ahead of the Houston Rockets. They have now lost 6 of their last 10 games. At the moment, the last place Orlando Magic are trailing the 10th place Atlanta Hawks by 16 games outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, or at least the play-in picture. Looking at what happened in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Portland Trailblazers. The Timberwolves would end up beating the Trailblazers 135-121. They would win this matchup by 24, or they would win this match by 14, after they outscored the Trailblazers by 15 in the second half of this matchup to come from behind. On the losing end of this matchup, the Portland Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Anthony Simons. He finished with 38 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 11 for 27 from the field. He shot 9 for 17 from 3, and he shot a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. Their point guard off the bench, Brandon Williams, finished with 21 points in 27 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he made his only free throw. Their power forward off the bench, Trendon Watford, finished with 12 points and 14 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 3 for 8 from the field and 6 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Minnesota Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting center and the reigning winner of the NBA's three-point contest, Karl Anthony Towns. He finished with 36 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 13 for 17 from the field and 10 for 11 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Jalen Noel, would finish with 22 points in 24 minutes. He would go on to shoot 8 for 13 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting point guard out of Ohio State, D'Angelo Russell, would finish with 14 points and 15 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 36-29. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference. They've now won their last 4 games. They are now tied with the Mavericks and the Pelicans for the second longest active winning streak in the conference behind the Clippers. The Timberwolves have won 7 of their last 10 games. They sit 2 games behind the 6th place Denver Nuggets. They sit 2 games ahead of the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers out west as they trail the conference leading Suns by 16.5 games. With this loss, the Portland Trail Blazers are 25-38. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 4 games. They are right now tied with the Spurs and the Warriors for the second longest active losing streak in the conference behind the Rockets. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games, like I just said. They sit 2 games behind the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans outside of the play-in picture. And then, of course, last but not least, jumping out to the Crypto.com arena, the Los Angeles Lakers hosted the Golden State Warriors, and the Lakers would end up beating the Warriors 124-116 as LeBron James put on another career performance. The Lakers would win this matchup by 8 after outscoring the Warriors by 13 points in the fourth quarter to overcome their 5-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their goated starting point guard, the NBA's all-time leader in three-pointers made, Stephen Curry, would finish with 30 points and 4 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 13 for 22 from the field and 4 for 9 from 3. Their all-star starting small forward, Andrew Wiggins, would finish with 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. Their shooting guard off the bench, Jordan Poole, would finish with 23 points and 5 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and he made his only free throw on the day. Their elite starting shooting guard, Klay Thompson, would finish with 7 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists, as well as 3 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 3 for 13 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown LA Lakers were led in scoring by their goated starting small forward. The NBA's active leader in points scored, LeBron James, would finish with 56 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists in 39 minutes. He would go on to shoot 19 for 31 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and 12 for 13 from the foul line. Their goated starting point guard, the NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles, Russell Westbrook, finished with 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 turnovers in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field. He would go on to shoot 1 for 3 from 3, and he shot 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Los Angeles Lakers are 28-35. That is the ninth best record in the Western Conference. They've won only 3 of their last 10 games. They sit 5 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers out west. They sit a game ahead of the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans. They trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 23 full games in the West at the moment. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors are 43-21. That is now the 3rd best record in the Western Conference and the 3rd best record in the NBA. They've lost their last 4 games. They are tied with the Trailblazers and the Spurs for the second longest active losing streak in the West, behind the Rockets. The Warriors have now lost 8 of their last 10 games. They sit half a game behind the second place Memphis Grizzlies, who jumped them for the first time all season, and they are also sitting 3 games ahead of the 4th place Utah Jazz as we are seeing this season really start to count down. They're sitting 8.5 full games behind the conference leading Phoenix Suns at the moment, remembering that the Warriors at one time for a good stretch were leading the NBA. So that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. And of course, because today's Sunday, today's primetime matchups are going to be on ABC and ESPN. The first matchup at 1 o'clock will feature the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets in the TD Garden. The Boston Celtics enter this matchup holding the 5th best record. They've won their last 2 games and they've won 8 of their last 10. They sit a game and a half behind the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Chicago Bulls for third place in the East to show you how close that is. The Nets enter this matchup with the 8th best record in the East. They've lost their last 3 games and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They sit only half a game ahead of the 9th place Charlotte Hornets. The second game is going to be at 3:30 on ABC and Pfizer V Forum. It will be a rematch of the NBA Finals as the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks are going to host the defending Western Conference champs and the current best team in basketball, Phoenix Suns. The Bucks will enter this matchup with the 3rd best record in the East, tied with the Chicago Bulls. A win here could see them jump into the 2nd best team in the East. And it could see them be the 2nd team in the Eastern Conference to win 40 games. And then the team on the road, the Phoenix Suns, enter this matchup with the best record in the NBA, being the only team in the NBA with 50 wins while the Bucks are looking to pick up their 40th. The Suns are sitting 8 games ahead of the 2nd best team in the NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies, at the moment, as the Suns have won their last 2 games and 8 of their last 10. The third primetime game will be at 7:30 on ESPN as the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are holding the 6th best record in the East, are going to host the Toronto Raptors, who are holding the 7th best record in the East in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. The Raptors entered this matchup having lost their last 2 games and 6 of their last 10. They sit a couple games behind the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers entered this matchup having lost their last 3 games, and they lost 6 of their last 10. Sitting 2 games ahead of the Raptors, they sit a game behind the Boston Celtics, who are holding on to that 5th spot. Last but not least, at 10 o'clock, the Los Angeles Clippers, who are holding on to the 8th best record in the West, are going to host the New York Knicks, who are entering this matchup sitting 6 games outside of the playoff picture. The Clippers enter this matchup having won their last 5 games. They've won 7 of their last 10. They sit 5 games ahead of the 9th place Los Angeles Lakers as they are holding on to that home seed, at least for the play-in games. And then taking a look at what is going on with the Knicks on the other side. Like I said, they're 6 games out. They've lost their last 7 games as the Knicks are holding on to the longest active losing streak in the NBA, in the Eastern Conference at least. That's what the NBA is looking like. Taking a look at what soccer is looking like going into today. Starting with yesterday's matchups that played in England. The 2nd best team in the nation, Liverpool, would end up hosting West Ham. And their lone goal from Sadio Mane, their elite Senegalese forward, would end up giving them their win. With this win, Liverpool is still sitting 2nd in the Premier League. They only sit 3 points behind first place Man City, with 1 less game played in the Premier League, as this title race is getting a lot closer. Staying within the Premier League, Chelsea would go to Burnley and pull off a 4-0 win, with all 4 of their goals coming in the second half. The first goal will come from their elite English defender Reece James in the 47th minute. Their second and third goals will come in a 3-minute span from their elite German center attacking mid, Kai Havertz. And then their 69th minute goal will come from their American forward Christian Pulisic. With this win, Chelsea is now sitting 3rd in the Premier League. They sit 10 points behind 2nd place Liverpool, with 1 less game played than Liverpool. They also sit 6 points ahead of 4th place Manchester United at the moment. Moving up the continent from west to east, starting off in Spain, Real Madrid would end up being Real Sociedad 4-1. Their first goal will come from their goal, Eduard Camavinga, after Real Sociedad scored the first goal of the game. Their elite Croatian midfielder and former Ballon d'Or winner, Luka Modric, would give Real Madrid the lead in the first half. Karim Benzema, their elite French striker, would give them their 3rd goal off of a penalty in the second half, and then Marco Asensio's 4th goal would be what Real Madrid needed in order to move past Real Sociedad. With this win, Real Madrid is currently sitting on top of La Liga. They sit 8 points ahead of 2nd place Sevilla at the moment, just to get a sense of how big this win was, particularly for Real Madrid. And then, of course, with that said, taking a look at what happened in France as we move up the continent, PSG was able to face off against Nice. Nice would end up beating Paris Saint-Germain 1-0. Their lone goal coming from Andy Delort in the 88th minute. With this win, Nice is now sitting 2nd in the Ligue 1 as they sit 13 points behind PSG as they temporarily jumped ahead of Marseille. A win could put Marseille right ahead of Nice, but PSG is still sitting very comfortably ahead as that was only their 3rd loss in their 27th game in the Ligue 1 this year. That's the news from France. Of course, moving up the continent through Italy, AS Roma was able to beat Atalanta 1-0 as their lone goal came from Tammy Abraham in the 32nd minute. With this win, Roma is now sitting sixth in the table, with having the same amount of points as Atalanta with one more game played. As both of these teams sit they sit 3 points behind fourth place Juventus. Lazio was able to beat Cagliari 3-0 as their first goal would be a 19th minute penalty from their elite Italian striker Ciro Immobile. Lazio now holds the seventh best record in Italy as they sit 1 point behind Atalanta and Roma. They've played one more game than Atalanta, but they've played as many games as Roma at the moment. And then last but not least, looking to Germany, the reigning German champs, Bayern Munich would end up hosting Bayer Leverkusen. Bayern Munich's first goal will come in the 18th minute. Their lone goal will come from Niklas Süle, their defender, who is eventually going to go to Borussia Dortmund. And then Thomas Müller, their elite center attacking mid, would end up scoring the own goal. That would give Bayer Leverkusen its own goal. With this 1-1 draw, Bayern Munich is still sitting on top of the Bundesliga as they are now currently sitting 9 points ahead of second place Dortmund with one more game played, as they are giving Dortmund an opportunity to at least close the gap a little bit. But that's what soccer is looking like yesterday. Taking a look at what it's looking like today as we transition through what is going on in the league, starting off within the Premier League. The team that's sitting at the very top, Manchester City, is going to host Manchester United in the Manchester Derby. In this Manchester Derby, Man City is looking to hold on to its very top spot. It only sits 3 points ahead of second place Liverpool. Man U sits 4 points below third place, or 6 points below third place Chelsea with one more game played. This is a must-win for both of these teams if they're both trying to clinch Champions League spot. But of course, Man City is going to be the home team, so this is going to be the most watched game. But before that, at 9 o'clock, Arsenal is going to face off against Watford at 9 o'clock. Arsenal goes into this matchup with the sixth best record in England, tied with West Ham for the fifth best record. They both sit 2 points behind Man U. Arsenal has played 3 less games than Man U. Arsenal could temporarily jump Man U for the fourth best record in England with a win here. As the team that they face, Watford enters this matchup with the second worst record in England. Looking at what's going on in La Liga, the third best team in La Liga, Real Betis, is going to host Atletico Madrid, who holds the fifth best record in Spain. That's going to be at 3 o'clock. Betis sits 9 points behind second place Sevilla and only 1 point ahead of Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. So the winner here would see themselves standing in front of the other. A draw would see Real Betis sitting ahead of Atletico Madrid in the table. Looking at the fourth best team in La Liga, Barcelona is going to go to Elche to face off against the 14th ranked team in Spain. Barcelona, like I said, sits 1 point behind Real Betis. If Real Betis and Atletico Madrid end up drawing and Barcelona ends up winning, Barcelona could see themselves sitting third after seeing themselves struggle in the very first half of the season. So, of course, congratulations to them. Moving up the continent, going up to France, the third best team in France, Marseille, is going to host Monaco. As a win here could see them jump back into second place. Monaco is currently holding the 10th best record in France. The reigning French champions, Lille, are going to host Clermont Foot at 11:05. The reigning champs are currently tied with Nantes for the 8th best record in France. A win could temporarily see them jump into 6th place, but that's what's going on in France. Jumping up to Italy, starting off with the second-ranked team in Italy and the third. Napoli is going to host AC Milan. Napoli and Milan are tied for the second-best record as Napoli holds the advantage on Milan on goal differentials. But that's going to be a big matchup, and the team sitting right beneath them, Juventus, will get a chance to close the gap between the team that either loses or both of them if they draw. Juventus sits 7 points behind both teams in the Serie A. So that is what the Italian soccer is looking like. and then that's really all of the matchups that are going on today as we are really kind of navigating through this one day at a time. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Monday, March 7th for another episode of The Elite. And until then, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode then. Thanks for listening to this piece. I want to thank the NCAA, NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures. Without them, I would not be able to do this. And once again, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I do apologize if I butchered the names because I do plan on getting them right. Thanks for navigating through this world of sports one day at a time with me. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my piece. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite, and peace out.